Welcome back to the Ball and Breakfast podcast. We're bringing you a Super Bowl recap here. I'm sure everybody dug in on Sunday, watched the big game, all the festivities around it. Very competitive game between the Chiefs and Eagles. We'll break down the winner of that. But if you're joining us right now on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe. Leave a comment if you like what you hear here. We're also on a lot of different audio podcasts: Google, Apple, Spotify. And you can catch us on social media at Instagram, also on Twitter. You can find Wayne. But in any case, let's get to it. Watching the Super Bowl had a lot of ups and downs. I'm going to kick it over to Wayne to kind of frame, his perspective from the game, what he took away from it, and how he saw it overall.
How I saw it overall, I was right. That's how I saw it. I called the Chiefs. You didn't. No. Yeah, I called the Chiefs. I just figured that I think that was one thing I maybe didn't elaborate on, like the Andy Reid magic. I think I maybe described it as the Chiefs flat out coached the Eagles there. The halftime adjustments that were being made. We saw those two plays to get into the end zone there by the Chiefs. I think they also did not. They also ran the ball. The Chiefs continued to run the ball, and that took some basically kept the Chiefs on the field there. And they also ran a lot more motion. And I think I just watched actually a breakdown, I think by Chris Sims about how I think Mahomes had a QB rating of almost like a perfect QB rating basically because of the Chiefs running motion, and that was kind of like the weakness, if you will, for the Eagles defense there. And they just made some plays. Mahomes made the play at the end of the game there, or towards the end of the game there, with I think 2 minutes, just under 3 minutes of football left. With that run, it was like a 20 some odd yard run to get in in the red zone area. So really liked what I saw there. I think this whole thing is James Bradbury having that hold call on Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that's being blown out of proportion, to be honest. Holds do happen a bunch of times. Sometimes they get called, sometimes they don't. And I don't think the refs necessarily thinking I'm not going to necessarily call something on here versus some other times. So I don't know. I didn't really feel about all that. I think that's a little bit outraged. I think got sparked by Greg Olson a little bit there to spice things up. So, but Mahomes, great game. Pacheco, great game. I think I'll say Nick Bolton killed it on the defensive side. I see a Pro Bowl probably in the future for him. And then now, with the Eagles, it's gonna be interesting now. I think what happens to them, with some free agency things happening, especially on the defensive line. And then it looks like they'll probably lose both of their coordinators here. So might not be as strong, next year, but we'll see. But yeah, thankful the Chiefs won here and, won a couple bucks too on some bets too. So all that being said, yeah, I think it was a great game overall. I did miss part of the halftime show, at least live, because, I came back from a trip from New Orleans. And I wanted to go. I actually bought a scale about a month ago, and I forgot to get batteries. So during the halftime show, for whatever reason, I just came back from New Orleans, and then I started to watch the Super Bowl. So it was bang bang type of thing. But yeah, during the halftime show, I was like, you know what? I feel very self-conscious of all the eating that I did, I think, at New Orleans. So I went to the grocery store and then picked up some batteries there actually. And then discovered I'm fat now. So with all that, though, I think it was a great Super Bowl. Rihanna, great for everything there. Oh my gosh, she's pregnant. And yeah, I think it was just a good time. But yeah, how did you take it, Pat?
I mean, Philadelphia Eagles defense, 0 sacks. I mean, after a year where they, set some pretty high marks, over 70 sacks as a team, just a completely tenacious D-line that showed out in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs after the bye. That was it. I mean, that was the start and end of the game for me. The fact that the Chiefs were able to put up 38 points and go on a tear in the second half, and I think they had 3 straight touchdown scores in a row. It's just unbelievable. And, I think like you're saying, kind of watching some of those, plays that they consistently ran where you had a guy, the whole team kind of, moving over to one side of the field, and then you having one receiver do a zig out and, completely throwing off the D. It was like CJ Gardner-Johnson was the only guy I felt like who was making big plays, like putting big hits down and like, making the sure tackle. So it's just like, it just kind of blew my mind. I've never seen a team, like the Ravens in the 2000s or the Bears, more recently against the Colts or in some of their more formidable years, just kind of like get walked all over like that. And I just think it came down to Reid and Mahomes, running those schemes and guys stepping up in different areas. Kind of reminded me of some of the Patriots teams with some of these more unknown cast members who kind of step out in the big game or throughout the season and become household names over time. So maybe an Isaiah Pacheco or Sky Moore starts to build more confidence as NFL players and can create great futures for themselves. But I was just completely in shock of that. Watching the Eagles offense operate was also pretty awesome. I mean, I know Hurts had a big fumble that led to that Bolden touchdown, but in the same sense, you got to give him a ton of credit because I think going into this game, he was my biggest concern. He was my biggest X factor for the Eagles. It's like he's got a turnkey operation. He just has to make it happen. And what was kind of funny is at the end of the day, he was, it wasn't the operation. It was Jalen Hurts and everybody, following his lead. And that was the coolest storyline I got from the game besides, Mahomes winning a second title. So, see him do the rugby formations and push balls, past the yard marker for first downs time and time again. And, running the 2-point conversion toward the end and just kind of, going beast mode, being his own, guy and just saying, I'm running with this, I'm bootlegging it. And you guys all know it. It just showed a lot of confidence from a guy who's, in his third year and trying to make a name for himself and, be somebody that the franchise can trust in for a very long time. And I think he proved that. I will say on that 2-minute call, wasn't the reason why the Eagles lost the game. Like, I'm pretty sure, even if the Chiefs walk away there, just take the 3 points and they've got, minute 45 left on the game. Eagles may not have come back and scored, may not have gotten a field goal, may not have done much against the Chiefs D. I just think it's like you get to that point in the game and there had been some calls I heard, in the first half, early second half where, some holding or some sort of more physical type play was being, allowed to go. And it's like, I just think context matters a little bit. Like, we're inside 2 minutes and this is what's going to decide it now. And I think as a fan of the game and not, I was pulling for the Eagles, but not to be like an Eagle homer. It's like, as a fan of the game, you just want to see the best possible football game play out. And it's like to watch them just kind of sit on it and let the clock drain. It was like, oh man, well, congrats for winning the Super Bowl, but that was really boring. I can't imagine being an Eagles fan, especially after watching the Phillies, losing the World Series this year. It's like, you got to be proud of your teams and proud to be, from the city and enjoy some good, competition from your hometown teams. But man, be like truly nice to get the W. But enjoyed the game overall. Memorable Super Bowl. And, Patrick Mahomes takes one more step toward, Brady's 7, Super Bowl mark and kind of inching his way toward, competing for that GOAT status as well.
Yeah, no, it was a second Super Bowl and I think 5 years as a starter, I believe, or something like that. So not bad at all. And if it's like if he keeps on that track, then 10 years, 4 Super Bowls, that's going to be good for the whole GOAT status. Like, he's basically like, at least from what I've seen, like probably the most talented quarterback I've seen. And we'll see if he can take that with Andy Reid going forth. I think there's been a lot of speculation, right, with Andy Reid, like, oh, is he going to sit? Is he going to retire? Is he not? It sounds like from everything he said, he's going to, come back and everything. But, he's 64. Who knows how many years he has left with regards to, coaching and coaching at a high capacity too. So, I know Belichick's like 71 or something like that. I don't know if he's going to go that route, just keep on coaching until he croaks. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, he definitely was a difference maker. I think him, and even gave some props to, Eric Bieniemy, who a lot of people are like, why isn't this guy a head coach? And there's been this whole thing, I think, about play calling and like, oh, he's not the play caller, but then it's like we can list how many people were not play callers that also became NFL head coaches. Like I think Doug Peterson was referenced, Matt Nagy, like all these people. Again, this whole thing is just stupid. It's just stupid with regards to, I think now there's like probably what's happening with the NFL owners now. They're becoming very much, it seems like hesitant to like even hire him now, because if they hire, like they don't want to succumb to like, peer pressure from people. So, but yeah, I definitely saw that the coaching, for the Chiefs overall, they've been a big difference maker, I think, especially, on the defensive side, a lot of young players on the Chiefs defense, and they made plays. So, and then also Dave Tubb, the former Bears special teams guy, a lot of great contributions on his end. Almost had that with Tony, that punt return touchdown as well. So, yeah, the coaching just really, I think, stood out this game for the Chiefs. So, but yeah, Patrick Mahomes almost there towards, immortality maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got a Hall of Fame resume. For the Reid point, looking at what he has done over the course of his career, he was always so close to, winning the big one or getting, those Eagles teams into the Super Bowl and came up short. So I think like as you go through your career and now you finally get a taste of victory, and it's like, and you're still in a point of like dominance and you have the best quarterback in the game, like it's just a moment to like cash in. And like, what better way to, retirement can wait, it's just like, let's just cash in and win as many Super Bowls as we possibly can, or have as much fun as possible, because, you go through all that heartbreak throughout your career to, rise to the level that he has. And he's always been a great coach. It's now finally, paying dividends for him. The enemy will be interesting too, because looks like the Commanders are really in on him as their next OC. And, just to think like they've won a couple of Super Bowls with him as the OC, and he's not getting, head coaching, looks in a real serious way. And it's like, if that's the thing that's limiting you, if everyone's going to kind of slight you for, being, with Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid, and, who's really pulling the strings, it's like, dude, now's your time to go prove yourself. So if I were him, you got 2 titles in the bank as an OC, go over to a new opportunity. Ron Rivera might be a lame duck if, the Commanders get off to a tough start this year, and maybe that'll be his first chance to, be an interim or whatever else, or just, if they do really well or do better than expected, maybe he'll be now looked at more strongly as a head coaching candidate to say, hey, like this guy can run a real offense, and let's give him a shot. So it was interesting also with the like you said at the beginning, just the defensive and offensive coordinator for both for the Eagles on both sides, getting jobs with the Colts and Cardinals respectively. Shane Steichen and Gannon going out to Arizona. It feels like the Eagles are like in this period of mass exodus at this point. Kind of looking at the roster decisions they have to make, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Javon Hargrave, Jason Kelsey, James Bradbury, TJ Edwards, Robert Quinn, fucking I can't even say it. Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, Miles Sanders, Kaiser White. I mean, that's a lot right there. That's like the entire defensive line, like I think you mentioned, and some linebackers as well, and some of their playmakers. So won't be easy to sign all those guys. If Kelsey retires too, like that's another huge loss. So not to say this was like Philly's only shot, but like they may take like a really serious hit here going into next year. And they're going to have to reload somehow, some way in free agency in the draft, but the NFC could be open for more competition next year. So, just stay tuned.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, talk about cashing out. I definitely think Jonathan Gannon cashed out there. He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I think this is as much as I can do with like whatever talent is here. And this is as high praise as I can get. I know I'm in the in the Super Bowl and all that. And like our defense has been touted as like one of the best since we had all these sacks and stuff like that. So, yeah, I definitely think he cashed out at the right time. So, good on him in terms of, I guess, the career wise. We'll see if he can do anything, with Kyler Murray and that team there. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I think how both teams look like going into next season. Obviously, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I think this was definitely like it was supposed to be kind of like a transition year, right? Like, they kind of just like patched up the offense. Like, all right, what wide receivers can we get? A bunch of wide receivers, other teams traded their first round picks for and all that, right? So let's just get Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, and we'll draft Sky Moore. So and then there's secondary, very young too. So again, this team is supposed to be in transition, and they won the Super Bowl. So, and it quite possibly could be that their coaches are predominantly going to stay. We'll see about Eric Bieniemy, kind of what happens to him. If that's the case, then if he leaves, then I would probably believe that Matt Nagy would then be back there, who guess he has some experience, but except he has Patrick Mahomes there instead of Mitch Trubisky in the Chicago offense. So, and then also with the support of Andy Reid. So it's like, I feel like this Chiefs team heading into next season, they got to be the favorites. I feel like, sure, there's maybe more talented teams, but they just proved that, hey, look, there are a lot more talented teams out there, but we were able to win the chip even without all that. So, and then it seems like the Eagles team might take like a little bit of a they might downtrend a little bit. So,
yeah. No saying what's going to happen this offseason. Some things could definitely, shake themselves up. Just kind of feels like with the Chiefs, as long as you have Patrick Mahomes and a good defense, you got a shot. And maybe the same will be true for the Eagles. Maybe Jalen Hurts, can be that guy. I don't know if he's on, that upper echelon level just yet, but he's so close. An MVP candidate. Great showing, performance in the Super Bowl here. A lot of years ahead of him. I just love his poise. I love his makeup. I think he does a little bit more than just, scramble and, kind of bootleg it and kind of make the easy read, the easy pass. Like he's just an all-out leader. And I just really think he's a great football player. I think he can definitely make guys better and be somebody everybody rallies around. So who knows? Maybe the Eagles with, half the defense that came in, with this year, maybe that, is enough for them to just be a playoff, threat and kind of take it from there. But we'll see where this all goes with football. I didn't have any other remaining thoughts here for the Super Bowl or, for this year in the NFL, but how about you?
Yeah. I'm very anxious about the Bears to see what happens this offseason and everything, so that we can be talking about the Bears in the Super Bowl. But I think I guess with regards to the Eagles, right? They had their Super Bowl run a couple, several years ago, and then they kind of just had some, not so good years, right? So I think in the NFL, right, like it's proven time and time again, like anything, it's like the one sport where things can change like very quickly. And we saw that, with the Jaguars this year. So, hopefully for the Bears fans out there that, there's brighter things to come. I'm definitely bullish, first pick, 100 or 96, right? Was it $96 million there in salary cap space. So, and Arlington Heights too, right? I think there's a lot of been talk about there about, looks like the Bears finally sealed the deal with the purchase of the Arlington Heights park there, and we'll see if they build up that stadium that a lot of people have been talking about for there. So, but yeah, overall, good Super Bowl. In my opinion, I liked it. Very much an entertaining game overall, high scoring, and yeah, I think these were the two best teams, which we don't see from each conference, record wise. And then just, I guess, overall talk and, momentum going in. So, I know I picked the Bengals, but I'll blame the line that getting hurt a little bit more. Chiefs, I don't know if there was any injuries that they had. Like, I think they're all pretty healthy. So, I'll blame the injuries on the Bengals line a little bit there. But, going forth, when you have Patrick Mahomes and good coaching, sky's the limit for you. So, yeah.
I expect the Bills to be better next year. I officially did Bills Eagles. Very disappointed in what happened with them in their showing. It wasn't just that they lost, but they just got embarrassed at home in the first game of theirs. So that ended pretty quickly. But who knows? Maybe they'll be back. Maybe some crazy things will happen in the offseason. I know Stephon Diggs has been talking about joining his brother in Dallas and all this other stuff. Like, I don't know, man. I just hope that ship doesn't sink before we see something special there. But like you're saying on the Bears, stay tuned with us. We'll for sure break down the Bears offseason, what's coming up in the draft for them. And, we look forward to putting together a pretty, rich episode of analysis there. So, keep your eye out for that. But, with Wayne, I'm Patrick for the Ball and Breakfast podcast.